Welcome to ConnectHer, the Bold Life podcast, where we have real, raw conversations about life, leadership, innovation, faith, and economic empowerment. I am your host, Kristy Jackson. I'm an author, speaker, and founder of the ConnectHer Collective and SheCan Connect Global Network. This season, we're going even deeper. I'm so excited to be sitting down with world changers, innovators, and barrier breakers who are living out loud and leading with soul. So wherever you are, driving to work, journaling in your quiet corner, or about to make a bold move in your business, I want you to know this space is for you. And guess what? You don't just have to listen. You can be a part of the movement. Support the show by sewing into what we're building. If this podcast inspires you, please share it with someone or consider financial support via Venmo or Cash App at ConnectHer Global. Every dollar helps us keep this real, raw, and necessary conversation going. And it helps us expand the reach to even more women around the globe. And if you are a brand or a business that aligns with Bold Purpose, we're inviting Season 2 sponsors. So let's connect and collaborate. And you can email us at connectherkj@gmail.com. ConnectHerkj@gmail.com. Now let's dive in. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with the amazing Ebony Williams, and you're going to learn why I think she's so amazing. We're talking seeking alignment in your career and even your second act. She is a leadership coach. She's a speaker. She's an organizational strategist, and she's a CEO. And you're going to learn what CEO stands for, because I think that it is a chief excellence officer. But you're going to fill us in more on that. Welcome, Ebony.
Thank you, Kristy.
I'm glad for us to be able to chat today.
So am I.
We have such good conversations offline anyway.
Yes.
And we have a lot of things in common, from family, from work, from passion to serving women.
Faith.
And our faith, absolutely our faith. And so I was just excited to have you come and kind of talk about more of your work and the support. And because you've had a leadership career for more than 5 minutes, right?
Yes. A little bit more than 5 minutes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I completed a 28-year IT management career last summer. And I am very blessed. I know I look like
I was going to say, you look 16, so 28. I'm trying to process it over here.
Right. And it's amazing how God allows you to come full circle. Mm-hmm. When I started, I was 23 years old. And I started the last 9 years of my career, I mentored and coached and supervised 21, 23-year-olds. So I literally went full circle from being in that position myself to being equipped because I was in that position to then coach and train and develop people who were also in that same demographic. So I'm just so thankful that I had that experience and that the breadth of experience to be able to help people.
Yeah, it's almost like it sounds kind of like a full circle, because at that stage, early in our careers, now that I'm at this stage in leadership, I didn't know what I didn't know.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I was trying to be all things to everybody. I thought that I had to be the solution for everybody. Mm-hmm. Even in helping with launching, because, I work as an entrepreneur and coaching and development. I felt so badly when I could just be the seed of support to someone, and I couldn't walk with them to the final end, right? For them to kind of reach the goal that they had set. But I had to learn there are stages, and people are assigned or appointed to particular parts of people's journeys. Exactly. So that was kind of a lesson that I had to learn in leadership. So I'm sure there were ones that you learned that kind of caused you to shift a little bit in your thinking.
Very similar to that in my last 9 years at AT&T, I managed a career development program. We called it technology development program. And so I went in and to colleges and universities and recruited people with technology degrees and brought them in, hired them, and supervised, coached, and managed them. And I had them for 2 years. So I was their first corporate supervisor. And I took that responsibility responsibility very seriously because I was setting the stage then for the rest of their career. So I knew in those 2 years I had to coach them to the point to where they would be successful throughout their careers. And many of them, after graduating the program, came back and said, I have had other supervisors, and I'm very blessed to have had you at the early part in the beginning of my career, which is why I feel so passionate about working with women who are in their early to mid career stage, because there are so many challenges, and I have experience working with that demographic.
That demographic, yeah. I think there's a difference between managing and coaching, and it sounds like you did both, really. And so they were pretty lucky to have that experience, especially as their first experience in the corporate workspace. And so you kind of talked about your journey, and it has truly been a powerful one. Like, you have crossed sectors of like IT, DEI, and leadership. So what was there, like a personal moment or pivot that led to you starting your own business?
There was.
Okay, tell us more.
I was very much a proponent and supporter of working in the corporate environment because I had for 28 years, and I was very comfortable there. I would always say, hats off to you entrepreneurs. You guys are wonderful. I will support you any way that I can, but that's not my jam.
I always say, like, Apple's here's to the crazy ones, right? When you that commercial, remember that? It's like, yeah, here we are over here. So I totally get it.
I love the phrase, if you want to, if you think you understand your path, tell God your plans.
Yes.
And he to put you on a completely different path. So, and the opportunity came up at work about 2 years ago, and we were offered a chance to move to Dallas. I have my elderly parents who live with me that I help to support, and that wasn't an option for me. And so when I declined that offer, the other alternative was, okay, then you can exit the business. And I said, okay. And I was when I stepped back and looked at everything, you're working toward retirement and you're looking forward to that phase in life. And then to realize this phase is upon me. I have enough years and age to retire. Yeah. Now what? I am not the type of person that will sit around and not do anything. Yeah. So I was faced with that decision. And when I decided to retire and tried to look at my next opportunity, my comfort zone was leading me toward another corporate position. So I started applying and applying and applying. And the more I applied and the more I was laughing, and I said, people that really have a problem with rejection would really have a problem with these. I mean, it was starting to be such a pattern. I'd look at my email and I go, okay, we're sorry we didn't select you for this position. And it was just opportunity after opportunity. And I want
to kind of stop there, Ebony, because there are women, I mean, you coach women that are kind of in transition for different careers. So what are some of those narratives that you think when you kind of get those constant rejections that they're saying that they have to kind of quiet in their head? Did you have any of those voices in your head?
Yes, most definitely. I think for the most part, the main thing that I was able to kind of take from those experiences was that these were decisions that I was making on my own. I didn't confer with the Lord. I didn't seek counsel on, even though I did a lot of career development with other people, I didn't step back and do a career development session with myself to say, what are my strengths? What do I really, at this stage in my life, I don't have to go back to a corporate job. Yeah. And what did I enjoy most about my corporate career? And it was the people that I was able to help. It was the women that I was able to encourage, that I was able to coach. And I said, well, why am I not doing that as a career? I mean, this is what I most enjoyed when I stepped back and wrote down, this is what I didn't enjoy, this is what I did enjoy, and this is what I want to do going forward. Because at retirement, you're really at a stage where you can make decisions on what you really want to do.
That decision making is so empowering, right?
It is.
Because like you said, the fact that you did an assessment of really what you want, and it helps you. Probably those ones that came back that said no, not really, was because they were probably out of alignment.
They were completely out of alignment.
Yeah.
And I realized that what looks like a rejection is really not a rejection. It's a push toward the path that you're supposed to go in. So I had to step back and look at it like that. So then when I got the emails, I'm like, well, okay, I would have gone in that direction and been miserable.
Yes.
And I'm like, thank you, Lord, for you pushing me back on the path that I'm supposed to be on.
Got it. So that explains why your tagline is alignment over obligation.
Yes.
Because that was a personal aha for you. Isn't it interesting how we have to experience these things that we are called to support and serve? It's like, Lord, do I have to experience every manner? He said, yeah, because I did. What makes you any different, right?
And what's a better way to learn? Experiential learning, in my opinion, is the best way to learn. And I am a each one, teach one type of person. So if I learn the lesson, I want to help everyone I can to learn those lessons, hopefully without going through some of the struggles I went through.
I'm telling you, yes, because we don't often realize when we are out of alignment. You know, first of all, we don't realize that it is a gift and it is a strategy, apparently, because you were saying you had to do this assessment, personal assessment, to kind of figure out, okay, what do I really want? And do you find that women are challenged in really identifying that in the first place?
Most definitely.
Why is
Most
that?
definitely. I think as women, we're raised to live in a box with restrictions. And we are raised to think of our lives as in sections. You go to school, you get married, you have children, you go to work, maybe not. And these are roles that are ingrained. To think of little kids playing with dolls.
Yeah.
And playing house. When I was growing up, that was the thing to do, was to play house.
Yeah.
And it was like we were already designed to fit within the mold and fit within the parameters of what society thinks we should do and be.
Yeah.
And I think when we are I recently wrote a book that is on the verge of being released.
Yes.
I talk about my year of self-discovery, which was the year 2023. And it was a very pivotal year because I was turning 50 that year. I'm a milestone person.
Okay.
I definitely set goals for different milestones, and turning 50 was a milestone for me that I was determined to celebrate. Every birthday I celebrate. I thank God for every year being alive.
Yeah.
But 50 was going to be a pivotal year for me. So as I was approaching my 50th year, I stepped back at the end of every year, and my birthday's in June, so I get 6 months to make an assessment. What didn't work these past 6 months? What worked? What things do I need to change or enhance? And so as I was getting closer to my 50th year, I realized my health is not where it should be. My relationships are not what they should be. I'm giving in every area of my life except to myself. And I recognized that as a problem.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, Lord, help me to change this. So I made a major decision regarding my health at the end of 2022, which caused me to then start being on a healthier path. I started really, really digging in and making my health a priority. And then as the year started, I said, I'm tired of going on Facebook and seeing friends of mine going to concerts that I want to go to, that they didn't invite me to. You know what, this year? I'm going to see whoever I want to see if I have to go by myself.
There you go.
I went out. I decided to start intentionally dating. I said, this is the year for me. I discovered pickleball, which I still love.
Yes. I saw recently on social media, like you were on ESPN, like you were captured. And I'm like, oh, Ebony, I know her.
That's
was really, so cool.
I wasn't playing.
Okay, let's clarify that. She was a but you had one of those cool badges on, so which means that you were involved in some way. So that's
yeah,
cool.
so I discovered that year. I just did all of these things, and then I started learning about self-care. I said, okay, if I'm giving, I can't pour from an empty vessel.
Yeah.
I'm giving in all these different areas. How can I start filling myself back up so that I can be a more effective giver? So I discovered, I already knew that I loved massages. I loved the things, but I always felt like I had to deserve a massage.
Oh, wow.
Like I had to do something to earn it.
Yes.
And that year I said, you know what? No, I'm putting this into rotation. I'm putting all these things in rotation. And I turned 50. I was the happiest I have ever been in my life. People were like, what are you doing? Because I started prioritizing me. And that's not at the expense of anyone else. And I think that's a misconception about self-care and really taking care of yourself. That doesn't mean I'm not caring for other people.
Yes.
But if I'm not making myself a priority and I'm trying to meet someone to be a future mate, I was like, if I don't love myself, I can't expect you to love me more than I love myself.
Cannot. What do the flight attendants tell us? Save yourself first, right? I mean, that is real. That is a practical example. This reminds me of, I think Shonda Rhimes is the author of the Year of Yes, where she just kind of, like you, like drew the line in the sand. Like, this is the year that I am going to say yes to the things that I want to do.
Exactly.
But Ebony, I think it's something around that age of 50 because I felt the exact same way at 50. Like for my 50th birthday, I had a band to bring me in. Like I danced all day. I had such a great time. But the confidence that I have and liking myself, I never liked myself more before the age of 50.
I totally agree.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally
so,
agree.
I mean, ladies, if you're listening and you're not quite there yet, you're going to love yourself and like yourself a little bit more and more. But I'm telling you, when you get to that age of 50.
What I would like to do is help women in their 20s and their 30s so that by the time they're 50, they're unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
They are unstoppable. I had a situation that happened to me in my 20s. I was dating someone who was not the best fit for me. And I was in a situation where he caused me to feel so bad about myself. And I was raised in a family, a church family, in a community that celebrated me.
Yes.
And I did not feel that from him. Not saying that people had to bow down and worship me or anything like that, but he completely disrespected me.
I was going to say it was about respect.
And as I left the meeting with him, I was in tears. I was 22, 23 years old, and I was just in tears and bawling. And I remember driving, and I pulled over to the side of the road. And if I could have gotten out of the car and drew a line in the sand, spiritually, that's what I did. And I said, I will never in this life let another human being make me feel the way that I feel in this moment. And I can attest to you today that I never have. And I want other women to understand their value and their worth, because when you understand that, you won't allow anyone to treat you that way.
No.
And as I was entering the dating world, I also have a book I'm working on about dating, online dating. It's a comedy because it is, you have to laugh so that you don't cry.
Humor, get you through it.
You have to laugh. So I want to help other women to really to feel that way about themselves. So even though I went through this this year of self-discovery at 50, I think it really started back then when I made the conscious decision that I was never going to let anyone make me feel like that again.
I love that. You have such practical strategies that you teach women to really help them process, get past burnout, to feel confident. I will never forget when we were at the WEW conference at Disney World, and you presented, and you brought out the rubber balls and the glass balls. And I have those on my desk at work. I keep them there because it was just a constant reminder. So can you talk a little bit about that exercise?
Of course. In a nutshell, there was a professor who came up with this concept, and basically when we think of rubber balls and crystal balls and how just completely different these two objects are. We think of the priorities in our lives, the things that we do, especially women working either in corporate spaces or not corporate spaces. We tend to prioritize so many things regarding work and so many other things that are not as important. When you are living in alignment and when you're focusing on moving toward a life of alignment, we want to make sure that we're prioritizing what needs to be prioritized in the order and in the timing that it needs to be prioritized. When you think of a rubber ball, it bounces. And if I had one here, I'd bounce it on the table. I was still surprised that I bounced it and caught it during that presentation that you mentioned. I wasn't planning on doing that. But when you think of a rubber ball, it bounces. These are priorities. When those things, when you drop those, they bounce back. You can catch it again. There's a meeting you might miss, and it's like, okay, oh my gosh, I missed that meeting, but you can reschedule it. These are things that are not critical. When you think of crystal balls, when you drop those balls, we as women, we juggle balls all day long, every day. But those crystal balls, when they're dropped, they shatter. And these are priorities that may be a lot closer to us, like our health, like our family, obligations that we have to our family that we may miss because we prioritize the wrong things. Sometimes we have to switch those balls. So as from presenting that in February, writing about it in my book, and then living these truths, I'm starting to get an even greater understanding of that concept because sometimes our balls switch. The things that were rubber balls then become crystal balls for a season, and then we might have to switch them back over to rubber balls.
So
As an
good.
example, my parents are a very high priority in my life. But there are times when they're okay. They're doing the things that they need to do. I'm taking care of them. I'm doing other things. I'm going to meetings. I'm working my business. But my father, so they're crystal balls. In some situations, they're rubber balls. It's like, okay, they have a doctor's appointment. That's not a critical one. I have a meeting at the same time. My mom goes, we'll just reschedule that doctor's appointment. That's not that critical. Okay. I prioritize this meeting because I can do some things that will promote my business for this particular season. My father had hip surgery. I had to tell all of my business connections and things, I'm going to be away for about a month.
Yeah.
My father is going to need me. This was a crystal ball. I couldn't drop that ball. So I'll pick back up when my dad's in a better space, when my siblings come to town to help. But for right now, this is the crystal ball that I can't drop. So now that he's walking around doing everything he wants to do now, I can put him back over there and go do the other things that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So there are times in life where you have to reprioritize and switch what used to be rubber to crystal and crystal to rubber and back and forth.
I think that women have a challenge in prioritizing those things out of fear.
Yes.
Out of fear that you're going to lose and that crystal ball will become a rubber ball, and you're afraid that you're going to lose that. So what gives you the confidence to know that thing's going to bounce back? My business. Some may listen to this and say, I would never make my business a rubber ball. Like, that's my priority. That's how I eat, right?
Right.
So how are you able to really determine what is that piece that gives you the confidence to put things in perspective the way you do?
It is a challenge. I can't say that this is something that's easy, that will come naturally to a lot of people. And sometimes there are some crystal balls that will break, that will teach you the lessons. I gave the example in that presentation and also in my book about my son's 18th birthday. And I had a new group of employees starting on his birthday. He was away for a summer program at college. I had the opportunity to ask, my boss even offered. She said, I can send someone in town to take over onboarding the first day for your team so that you can go be with your son. I said, I want the first impression of I'm going to be their supervisor. I feel like I need to be there on their first day. So I said, my son's going to be in class. He'll be okay. I called him that night on his birthday after I did a successful day of onboarding, welcomed my new employees. Everyone left work with a smile on their face. Had a FaceTime with my son, and he's in tears because this was the first birthday he spent without me. And I felt my whole soul shattered because I prioritized work when I didn't need to. I didn't even need to do that. So I think sometimes those crystal balls that shatter are really wake-up calls for us and allows us to step back and be able to really understand how important prioritization is. And again, it's not a full-time thing. We don't have to fully prioritize one area and not focus on another. It is a prioritization is such that it shifts, and that's why I know a lot of people talk about balance. Use the word balance.
That's what I was gonna,
and work-life balance. And I don't like to use the word balance because balance to me is equal, and you will never in life be able to have an equal work-life balance. It will never be equal.
That's
and
true.
People that aspire to that end up frustrated.
Yeah.
And that's why I like to use
it's
the
not
word
real.
alignment.
It's like perfection.
Yeah, exactly.
It does not exist.
No.
So
No.
you're always going to be chasing that, right? But that is why clarity is so important.
Exactly.
Because we're looking at other women's lives and not really seeing behind the scenes the steps, the crystal balls, the rubber balls, all these things that have shattered, that have bounced, that the lack of confidence that they've had, all of these challenges. We don't see those things. That's why it's so important to create this space with our podcast here, because we want people to get the real story behind the success, right? And what are those things, those practical tips that you can take so that you can get out of it, right? Get out of those, quiet those voices that are in your head that are telling you you're not ready. And we're talking about like career second acts, right? I mean, that's not an easy transition to make because we are often so defined by our success, and isn't it amazing that the dedication, like you just talked about, like the dedication to your company, and when it's time for them to downsize or reconfigure or however they want to say it, you might not be a consideration.
Not at all.
Or a collaborator in the process. So I think the investment in yourself is what you're saying. You have to have that clarity and make sure that you're in alignment in your work and in your life.
And also during that shift, if that shift involves you becoming an entrepreneur, you're not getting performance appraisals twice a year. You're not having someone tell you you're doing a really good job. There's a lot of challenges moving into that space when you're so used to being led by the confines of a corporation and the rules. That good and bad. I mean, I have never felt so much freedom in all my life. Another thing that really surprised me, the very next day after I retired, I woke up and the first thing on my mind was always what I needed to get done during the day. And I started, I need to, wait, no, I don't need to do that anymore. And I never in my life felt the sense of quiet. My mind was quiet. My spirit was quiet. I sat there and I was like, it shocked me just how quiet everything was. And it was peaceful. I said, I don't have to do that anymore. And I think as I joked over the last year, as I was applying for jobs and I was thinking that this was the next phase, I was going to start a new career at another company. The longer I went without having another full-time job at a corporation, I kept going, I don't think I can go back to that. I wake up every morning quiet. Yes, I have priorities that I need to do for my businesses and the things that I need to get done. But my spirit is just a lot more quiet. We're being, when you work for another company, you're led by the goals and the vision of that company, good, bad, or indifferent,
Right.
and the leadership of that company.
Mm-hmm.
When you're disconnected from that, you're led by your own goals and priorities and vision.
Yes.
And then that causes you to be in alignment.
It does.
And it's an amazing experience. And I never anticipated that, and no one ever prepared me for that.
Yeah.
So it was a very pleasant surprise.
Well, that silence, there's a lot that can happen in that silence, right? I mean, you have to face who you are as a person, right? So, when you think about who Ebony is at her core, what did you learn about yourself?
I already knew that I am a connector.
Yes, ma'am.
When asked throughout my life, when asked what's your superpower, I always say a connector, because I don't even know how this works. I can walk in a situation, in a meeting, in a building, and I can see two people, and I'm immediately looking for ways to connect them. And just innately, I don't know how it works or how that's just a gift I've always had. I'll go, ooh, that person is in this industry. Oh, that person is also in. Hey, come here and meet this person. So I've always been able to do that. At my core, I'm a servant. I love to help people. There's no way that I can stop helping people. Like, even if I say, I have a lot of stuff to get done and I need to do this. I was on social media recently, and I'm involved in a lot of different groups, a lot of Christian entrepreneur groups. And this woman said, I'm preaching my first sermon on Sunday. And she said, and I discovered this scripture in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, but I don't fully understand it. I've been praying and praying, and I've given a lot of sermons on that particular passage on the weapons of our warfare. And I've gotten a lot of revelation on those scriptures. And I was like, I have so much work to do. And I was like, I just couldn't let it go. And I just said, I actually have slides and information on this, but in a nutshell, this is what she goes, I don't even know what the weapons are. I'm like, oh, here's your weapons, blah, blah, blah. And I gave her scripture references, and she was like, oh my goodness. So of course she kept asking more. So I ended up like,
did you make her like this whole handbook, workbook?
I gave her like this whole, yes. And I sent her a video of one of the messages that I taught on that particular scripture, and I followed up how the sermon go, which is a perfect stranger online. And she said, you have no idea like how much that helped me. Yeah. And it's just, those situations, and I've always been just available to be used by God. And so I'm very thankful to my core that's who I am. My mother is a huge giver. I've inherited that from her. Not to the extent that she will give anything and everything to everybody. Yes. And I aspire to be that way. But I think that when I'm given knowledge, I immediately want to give it away to everyone and to help everyone. Yeah. So.
I mean, it's critical to kind of know, who you are at that core. And especially if you're in this space of transition or just really self-discovery, it is a great time to do an inventory of who you are, and there's so many tools out there, your spiritual gifts assessments, the things that you're talking about. But even I'm thinking, listening to you say, that servant leadership, kind of you're a servant at the core. I did a assessment called the Agile Work Profiler, and it takes you through like these 10 strengths that are identified across various careers, right? And so mine is innovating. That's one of my top strengths, and selling and communicating. Nice. And service was kind of down at like 6 or 7. And I was kind of beating myself up about that, because I'm like, well, I do love people. And I do, to consider myself not a servant. Like, what is wrong with me, right? But then I had to realize that this assessment helps you to see what you're passionate about and what you're really good at. And so I provide service through my innovation and through communication. So creating spaces like this is a way that I'm serving. So I just had to kind of look at, oh, okay, this is a different perspective because, we're told as women, we should be serving, we should be giving. And if innovating and selling and communicating is like your top strengths, it's like, oh, wait a minute. Something is not right, right? So I just encourage you, if you're listening and you're kind of in that space where you have the time, because sometimes that rejection can be protection. It can be a gift.
Exactly.
If you're, transitioning from one career to the next or trying to figure out what your next is, take the time to figure out who you are. So what are some other tools that you kind of use with your clients to help them discover? We know the strengths finders and things like that, but are there any other tools or practices that can help?
There are a lot of assessments, like you said, that can be used in kind of going through those levels of self-discovery. I really like to help clients step away for some. It's easier said than done. Like I know I've been saying for the past year, I need a weekend. Like, give me a weekend away.
Yes.
So that I can focus on things. And I have friends who are like, oh, I've got a cabin you can use. And I'm like, oh, I want to get away. But even if you're not able to get away by yourself, dedicating a space, an hour, 15 minutes to really start doing some stuff like, who am I? I think you can take assessments, and based on what mood you're in when you take the assessment, what's going on. If you're in it, they tell you make sure you're in a quiet space when you're taking these assessments so that you get a more accurate reading. That's not always possible. And sometimes I'll take them more than once in different points of my life to say,
you'll see.
Okay, let me see what the difference is in these. So although I love those assessments to give you kind of a general idea, so many people get this says I'm this, so this is how I need to start
they're so
acting.
rigid with it, yeah.
I think it's more important for you to come to who am I on your own, to step back and say, what do I like?
Yeah.
Sometimes we're so conditioned on what we should like. So many of us live our lives on social media looking at other people and thinking that their lives are perfect.
Yeah.
Social media is a facade.
Absolutely.
Everybody's going to show you the good side, but you're not seeing behind the scene. I have a really good friend whose ex-wife they had a horrible relationship, and she would post on Facebook about your beautiful wife and how happy we are. And he's like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So that everybody can believe the lie. But in actuality, that's what's happening a lot.
It's so true. It's so true. And it is becoming the truth. Their truth, right? Our truth that we are aligning ourselves with. So, I mean, this work that you are doing is so, so important in helping women to see themselves, who they really are, and to let them be led through what aligns with who they are as a person.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I'm thinking again, just how can you fill your time and your space while you're waiting for that next? Because you're doing several things.
Oh, yes.
You're quite busy.
I think networking groups like ConnectHer, getting involved in Women Empowering Women was a game changer for me. I love connecting with, like I said, connecting people together, but also connecting with other people. So I knew I needed to find a community but I wasn't even looking for a community that was going to help me professionally. My first community I joined was STL Women Over 40. Sandy Finelli started this group. The very first meeting I went to was a horse therapy organization invited us to come out, and they were saying people's kids are going away to college. Maybe this is a good time for those people who are kind of having a hard time with their kids going away to come together and support each other. That was my first event.
Wow.
I drove out to Wildwood. I went to this space. I have an appreciation for horses, but they're a little scary.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was like, what am I? And it was one of those things where I was like, do I really need to go to this? Like,
Uh-huh.
it's far away. And I woke up, I was like, and the Lord's like, yes, you
Just
do.
go.
So I
Gotta
said,
show
okay, I
up.
don't know why I'm going. I go there. We're introducing ourselves. I said, I recently retired from AT&T. Sandy goes, I retired from AT&T. Had no idea, like the very first connection that I was
Yes.
making was someone who was in the very same situation as me.
Yeah.
Almost exactly
Yeah.
the way it happened with me is how it happened with her. Instant connection. And someone else in that group mentioned Women Empowering Women. Oh, let me see about this group. I went to a first meeting there and was like, met someone. I said, I retired. I don't know what I want to do. I know I need to do something. And I had coffee with a member of that group who was like, let's help you determine your niche.
Yeah.
What did you like most about working in corporate America? And it was just everything evolved. I was like, I was coaching for 28 years. I already know how to do this.
Yes.
Like, why am I not? And then everything just started evolving based on the connections that I made. So those are crucial. There's so many people that are trying to do it on their own.
You can't.
And you
We're
don't
not
need
made to do this alone. No. Two is so much better than one. And it is, I mean, once we get that through our heads that you cannot do this. I mean, you can, but you will get there so much further and faster with a connection, right? And it starts with authenticity, being yourself. We're showing up in these networking spaces with a facade or with the mentality of only what I can get from it, as opposed to coming open to, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just showing up as me, right? And you were able to make that instant connection.
There was another interesting, that very first Women Empowering Women meeting was being, the keynote speaker was Leslie Tolliver.
Okay.
And she was going to talk about neurodiversity.
Yes.
In my mind, I have a lot of DE&I experience and credentials, but I was talking to my therapist about the fact that I didn't feel like I had the credibility to be able to do that. And he kept saying, why don't you think that? And I was like, I just felt like I was like, is someone going to pay me to come in and talk to, like, and he said, but you've done all of this.
You've done it, yeah.
So I got to that first meeting. It was about neurodiversity. They had Leslie's bio on the table. She had a very challenging morning, and she came in and involving an emergency room visit. She was going around in circles, didn't have her presentation. She was like, okay, this is how you do things on the fly. This is not what I planned, but it was the best meeting.
Yeah.
Because I learned so much in that space and in that moment. And when I looked down at her credentials, I have a graduate certificate from Cornell University in DE&I, but and an MBA from WashU. Still felt like I was not qualified to give DE&I presentations.
Yes.
And I followed Leslie, so I knew that she's being asked to speak at national conferences.
Yes.
And when I looked at her credentials, she has the exact same Cornell University certificate. And I said, and the Lord's like, why don't you think you're qualified?
You are enough. You are enough.
If the only reason for me being at that meeting at that time was to look down at Leslie Tolliver's bio, to understand that that's what's so amazing. You have no idea what you're going to experience at networking events, who you're going to be connected with. Even if you walk away and say, I don't know why I was just there.
Yes.
There's something that you need to step back and go, okay, who did I miss an opportunity to connect with? Okay, I need to sign up to go to the next one and be intentional about connecting with other people. As people are introducing themselves, I tell everyone, bring a notebook and a pen and write down people's names and write down the things. There's always someone that you can connect with.
Always.
In those spaces.
And people are open to that. You know what I mean? For the most part, that's why they're there. They all want the same thing, to be able to, and I just love this. I know Leslie. I love this story. And it is so her. She is one of the most authentic people. She calls herself neurospicy. And I just love that about her. But it was such, you have to see that. that, right? You have to see that model, that it's okay. You're having a bad morning, things don't go as planned. How do you still show up for yourself?
And I have told her before about my experience with that. And I said, we actually walked into the meeting at the same time, and I didn't even realize that she was the speaker.
Yes.
And I said, what you thought was just an actual crazy day. I said, I learned more from what you authentically delivered without slides than I would have if you came in polished and doing. I said, you delivered that presentation, caused me to think about neurodiversity in a different way because I'd studied and delivered a lot of other types of DE&I topics. But it was a very, very insightful and revelational message.
Yes.
And she was just like, and so being able to give her that feedback as well really helped her. Yeah. She's like, oh my gosh, I didn't
because we need that feedback too, right? We need that encouragement as well. So I'm hoping that those that are listening, if you don't think of, when you walk away with anything from here, please show up, get to know somebody, network, get out there, keep an open mind, make sure that you're in alignment, get to the core of who you are. And it's not all going to happen in one day. It is a journey.
It is.
It is a journey.
It is.
So give yourself grace. There are so many networking spaces here. Wherever you're listening, there are networking spaces in your community. Do your research, find out. If Women Empowering Women is a national organization. There are spaces there. SheCan Connect Global Network is a global organization where you have different chapters and spaces you can connect. If you're here in St. Louis, we have live ConnectHer events, so you can show up to those. So just email us, reach out. We're going to give information on how you can follow Ebony. She's also a coach to help you get empowered to be prepared to show up in those spaces authentically. So I want to close with this question, or it's not a question, it's a sentence for you to complete. A woman in alignment is
a woman who understands her priorities and lives a healthier and more vibrant life.
And I want to be that woman.
Me too.
Thank you so much for talking with us today.
You're welcome.
It's always a joy. We have such good conversation. You talk about authenticity. We kind of clicked and connected the first time. Instantly when we met. So I wish that for each of you listening to this podcast, that you will have the opportunity to meet with someone as you're showing up as yourself. So happy connecting. So thank you again for listening to our podcast. And we hope that you heard something that would inspire you, something that hit home for you. If it did, share this podcast, tag us, and leave us a review. And if you want to support this movement, because it actually takes all of us to do it, we'd love for you to get connected with us. And if you have a bold brand that you want to sponsor this season, reach out to us and let us know. Until next time, stay bold, stay grounded, and be a connector.